This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Wendy Griffith. We've got a lot to cover today, including the devastation from Hurricane Helene. But we begin in the Middle East, where the Israeli military has warned nearly several border communities in Lebanon to evacuate. That came after Israel launched its ground invasion into southern Lebanon Monday night with limited raids and with Hezbollah severely weakened by Israeli attacks. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made a direct address to the Iranian people. Chris Mitchell brings us the story from Jerusalem.
IDF troops headed into southern Lebanon Monday, launching localized and limited raids against Hezbollah terror targets that pose the most imminent threat to nearby Israeli communities. Explosions lit up the night sky as the IDF attacked.
Hezbollah turned Lebanese villages next to Israeli villages into military bases, all ready for an attack on Israel. Hezbollah had prepared to use those villages as staging grounds for an October 7th-style invasion into Israeli homes.
The IDF's chief spokesman explained the reason for the invasion.
If the state of Lebanon and the world can't push Hezbollah away from our border, we have no choice but to do it ourselves. I want to make it clear. Our war is with Hezbollah, not with the people of Lebanon.
Israeli jets are bombing Hezbollah targets throughout Lebanon, including Beirut, where the terror group is headquartered. President Biden told reporters he wants the fighting to stop.
We should have a ceasefire now. Thank you.
The State Department is pressing for a ceasefire, but acknowledged Hezbollah is to blame for this war, and Israel has a right to end it decisively.
It was Hezbollah on the day after October 7th that started launching rocket attacks across the border that had not stopped until this day, and Israel has a right to defend itself against those attacks.
So far, Iran is not coming to the aid of their #1 proxy in the region. Observers like former Trump official Jared Kushner believe it's a sign that the regime in Tehran is more vulnerable with Hezbollah weakened. On Monday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu delivered a message directly to the Iranian people.
When Iran is finally free, and that moment will come a lot sooner than people think, everything will be different. Our two ancient peoples, the Jewish people and the Persian people, will finally be at peace. Iran will thrive as never before. Global investment, massive tourism, brilliant technological innovation based on the tremendous talents that exist inside Iran. Doesn't that sound better than endless poverty, repression, and war? Don't let a small group of fanatic theocrats crush your hopes and your dreams.
Iranian-born Ramin Parsa told CBN News most Iranians detest the Islamic regime.
I can tell you with certainty that 95% of the people in Iran, they don't want the Islamic regime. The regime basically has no support from within, from the people. If you remember, on April 13, when the regime attacked Israel, the first thing that the regime did, that they put anti-riot forces on the streets because they were more afraid of the people rising up than even Israel attacking back. So that's why they were so scared.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
And Chris is with us now from our news bureau in Jerusalem. Chris, it's great to see you as always. Chris, talk more about, we're going to talk more about Iran in just a moment, but first, what more can you tell us about Israel's ground attacks on Hezbollah, which are now underway?
Well, the IDF had a briefing earlier today, Wendy, and they said there were limited and localized targeted raids based on precise intelligence, and they wanted to remove the threats to the communities in northern Israel right across the border. One thing they added is they said, really, going to Beirut is not on the table, and they say they're ready and able to get to any terror organization that's trying to hit them from anywhere in the Middle East. That seems like another veiled threat that Iran could be on the table if Iran attacks attacks Israel directly. There's not numbers of the ground invasion. They said limited raid. In the types of forces, they wouldn't say if there were tanks or going in or not. And they want to be taking away the infrastructure that was on the other side of the border to prevent any sort of October 7th type attacks. And Hezbollah had been preparing a plan called Conquer the Galilee, just based on what Hamas did on October 7th. And they said they have an obligation to be ready for any mission and be ready to carry it out in the best way.
Is Hezbollah fighting back in any way?
Well, they are, as they have been for almost a year, Wendy. There have been sirens across northern Israel and Samaria, sending millions today into bomb shelters. They fired from Lebanon to multiple locations, and then these anti-missile systems like the Iron Dome have been activated. There also fired missiles today near an IDF intelligence base near Tel Aviv and into central Israel as well. And right now, we're also hearing, Wendy, that dozens of villages in southern Lebanon are called to evacuate, urging them in Arabic to leave, that Hezbollah is using those civilians as human shields. So they want people to move north and get out of harm's way.
Chris, the last time Israel sent ground troops into Lebanon was 2006. You and I were there. We were on the border in the northern town of Metula, and we could literally hear the gunfire coming from the tanks across the border and hear the Katyushas going back and forth. Are you getting a sense that this will be the same type of fighting?
Actually, you know, I think they learned lessons from 2006, Wendy. They took that as sort of an urban warfare strategy, and I think they learned a lesson that that wasn't the way to fight Hezbollah that time. I think the strategy is going to be different. I think the bombing campaign is going to be, as it has been for months as well, for the idea of hitting Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon. Strategic, precise. They have an amazing intelligence plan throughout that region. So I think they're going to go with a different strategy than they did. But certainly the sounds of war that we heard back in 2006, Wendy, many people are hearing them as we speak.
I'll never forget it. What impact is the Biden administration having in Israel's battles with Hezbollah? We heard President Biden say yesterday he wants a ceasefire ASAP.
Yeah, well, the Times of Israel is reporting right now that a senior Israeli official is kind of upset with the U.S. and accusing them of leaking plans of the Israeli ground operation. The idea, he says, that can be putting Israeli soldiers at risk. The sense is that the U.S. really wants to limit the operation, but an Israeli official is reporting there's really going to be no diplomatic arrangement in Lebanon before the end of the operation. I think Israel is determined, and I think Benjamin Netanyahu is determined, and the leadership of the IDF to make sure that they can finish and eliminate Hezbollah as a threat on the northern border and allow these tens of thousands of Israelis to go back home.
Chris, a lot of people talking about what Netanyahu said yesterday, when Iran is finally free, and that moment will come a lot sooner than people think. Any idea what the prime minister meant by saying that will come a lot sooner than people think? Is he talking about a regime change?
I think he's alluding to that, Wendy, and I think it's a reflection of really what's going on inside Iran. You heard from our Iranian-American friend that really there's so much dissatisfaction with the Iranian regime by Iranians. Maybe 95% of what he says do not like the regime, and whether or not they have the power to overthrow the government, it doesn't seem that's happening yet. There's not a tipping point in that way. But I think we should also be encouraged that there's an amazing revival going on inside Iran right now. Many believers coming to faith through dreams and visions of seeing Jesus.
Praise the Lord. That's good news. Well, we know that Hezbollah is, one of Iran's main proxies. How much does it hurt Iran to have Hezbollah weakened so badly?
Well, you know, for decades, Wendy, Iran had a strategy, and it's called the Ring of Fire. They had proxies surrounding Israel, trying to destroy the Jewish state. But now Hamas has been eliminated, basically, and now Hezbollah weakened significantly. So all of this plan for decades is really crumbling, you know, right before the mullah's eyes right now. And we're going to be talking that as well in our Jerusalem Dateline today, Wendy. We're going to have updates on that. We're also going to have a story about, you know, the terror tunnels that Iran is using and Hezbollah right on the Iranian border. And that's going to be coming up on today's Jerusalem Dateline.
Looking forward to that. Our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell. Thank you so much, Chris, for your insights as always. Please stay safe, my friend. Know that many people are praying for you and our staff there in Israel. God bless. And again, you can see the latest Jerusalem Dateline tonight on the CBN News channel at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can also watch it on the CBN News app or on YouTube. Coming up here at home, rescue and recovery efforts underway as the death toll from Hurricane Helene keeps rising, and exhausted emergency workers are trying to clear roads and restore power and cell phone service. We'll bring you the story when we come back. The death toll from the aftermath of Hurricane Helene keeps climbing. More than 130 lives lost across 6 states so far. The most devastated area is western North Carolina, where hundreds are still missing. CBN's Operation Blessing has deployed teams to help victims of this powerful storm. Our George Thomas has the story.
Hurricane Helene's devastation in North Carolina is being described as catastrophic.
It's way worse than we expected. We were not preparing for an event like this.
Drone video captures the extent of the devastation in Asheville, where many roads are impassable, isolating residents and complicating rescue efforts.
We're dealing with a situation that is unlike anybody's ever seen in western North Carolina.
More than 600 people reportedly are missing in Buncombe County, North Carolina, where cell connections are down and travel near impossible.
There are 92 rescue teams out working, doing search and rescue right now.
Scores of residents lined up outside a local grocery store in Asheville to stock up on items, while in the distance, sounds of a city slowly trying to make a comeback can be heard. As the community grapples with the aftermath, residents are coming together to support one another.
We're hosting a potluck tonight. Everybody bring your own bowl and spoon, so we're sharing food.
For the east in Rutherford County, Lake Lure, the once serene landscape, has been transformed into a scene of destruction, with debris scattered throughout. Helene hit Florida's Gulf Coast last week as a Category 4 hurricane, moving through Georgia, the Carolinas, and Tennessee. The storm impacted multiple states, leaving communities reeling.
I'd like to now ask for a moment of silence and prayer, if you would, for those who have died. Thank you.
On Monday, former President Donald Trump and evangelist Franklin Graham visited affected areas in Valdosta, Georgia, to raise awareness and support recovery efforts.
Thank you, Mr. President, for coming and helping to put a spotlight on this city, this state, in this region that has lost so much.
President Biden is expected to visit North Carolina soon, promising emergency disaster funds for affected regions. Organizations like CBN's Operation Blessing are on the ground mobilizing resources. The aid group is staging out of Valdosta, Georgia. OBI is partnering with Valdosta's Anchor Faith Church to send volunteers into affected neighborhoods to help with cleanup efforts and prepare hot meals for residents. In Forest City, North Carolina, Operation Blessing turned this parking lot into a distribution site, delivering hygiene kits, water, emergency meal kits, and food boxes that can feed a family for 3 days.
These will go to families who've been without power for days. Their refrigerators are starting to thaw. They haven't had power. Grocery stores aren't open. Their wells aren't working because electricity's off. So they're getting desperate, and we get to come alongside them as the body of Christ and provide at a local school that has been turned into a shelter.
And for the first time, Operation Blessing's international and U.S. disaster relief teams are joining forces to help flood victims.
We're coming together as a unified team, bringing help, hope, and healing to the very communities that have empowered us in the past to make a global impact.
George Thomas, CBN News.
George, they need so much help and so much prayer. If you would like to support Operation Blessing as it helps those hit by Helene, you can call 1-800-700-7000, or you can go to Operation Blessing's website. That's ob.org. Still ahead, inflation, a major issue in this election year for churches as well as shoppers, but there are ways churches can turn things around. We'll take a look right after this. Vice presidential candidates Tim Walz and J.D. Vance square off in their debate tonight. The sharp increase in inflation the last few years is a top election issue. It's hit not only consumers, but churches as well. Recent data shows giving didn't keep pace over the past year, and church attendance is down. As Jenna Browder reports, there are possible solutions for churches to turn this trend around.
From the grocery checkout line to the gas pump and now the church pew, Americans are closely watching what they spend, and it's putting some churches in a bind.
Churches are, in some instances, are struggling, right? That they're not keeping up with inflation. Donations are down. Some instances, attendance is down.
Robert Blair with Ministry Brands works specifically on helping churches grow donations. The group's latest study shows 2023 giving failed to keep up with inflation, with 55% of churches seeing a decrease in giving. This hit smaller churches the hardest, with only 36% reporting an increase. On top of that, cash and check donations dropped for a third of all churches surveyed or in the study.
But there are some things churches can do. Blair says it starts with church leaders communicating well.
One of the most important things is the conversation that the pastor or the leaders of the church have with the congregation. Talking about giving, why it's important, and candidly, what's it for? What's the money going to?
He says being transparent with congregants about where their money is going can lead them to give greater amounts and more often. Another plus can come from offering a variety of ways to give, like going digital.
I have a 21-year-old son. He's never going to write a check, ever, right? My mom only writes checks. So as leaders in the church and as leaders of trying to grow healthy churches, we need to be able to accommodate all congregants.
I can tell you that digital giving has been a catalyst to our ability to increase our giving across the board.
We're reading from the New American Standard Bible today.
Pastor Solomon Adair leads Inspired to Live Church in Arlington, Texas.
Giving for us throughout these COVID years and these inflation years has actually gone up for us. We've grown, but that's due to our heavy evangelism focus. We're always inviting somebody to church, sharing the gospel. It's a part of the culture.
That plays into their goal of asking more people to help do a lot by everybody doing a little. The church is now in the process of buying and renovating its own building.
We see him as a leader in the way he works with his congregation and talking about donations and talking about digital.
Blair points to Pastor Adair's approach as a model to follow. Communicate well, offer many ways to give, and be bold.
The Bible says we have not because we ask not. And one way to ask is to make it easier for the ask.
Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Make it easier for the ask. I like that. Well, coming up, a big change in missionary activity. With Christianity on the decline in the northern part of the world, the U.S. and Europe, while on the rise in southern regions like Asia and Africa. We'll bring you that story when we come back.
Get your daily quick start from CBN News. A quick read on the important news of the day delivered right to your inbox. Stay current on breaking news, politics, and entertainment. Go to quickstart.news and subscribe today.
The Lausanne movement has spent the last 50 years uniting churches to fulfill the Great Commission. The group recently held its 4th Congress in South Korea, where a major focus was on a global change in missionary activity. The reason? Christianity is declining in the North, including the U.S. and Europe, while it's on the rise in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. CBN's Lucille Latusen brings us this report.
Over 5,000 Christian leaders from 202 countries joined the recently concluded 4th Lausanne Congress held in South Korea. Started by Billy Graham and John Stott in 1974, this movement has connected ideas and influences from different Christian churches for global missions. In this gathering, they heard that 40% of the world has not yet been evangelized. Studies also show that by the year 2050, the global north will only be 20% Christian, with the other 80% being in the global south, which is in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Since 1980, the number of Christians in the majority world has exceeded the number of Christians in the West. As a result, the number of missionaries sent from the West is rapidly declining, with the gap filled by Asia, Africa, and Latin America. To address this challenge, Dr. Jonas Kang of the Korea World Missions Association spearheaded the new movement, Christ of Asia, Africa, and Latin America, or KOALA. Its goal, to promote polycentric missions for more effective evangelization and church growth.
The best mission way is the local people preach the gospel to the local people. The missionary is not a mother to give a birth, but the missionary role is like a midwife. So try to help somebody produce something.
If this church becomes a missional church, probably the day will come that this church in Asia, Africa, Latin America will take the gospel of Jesus Christ and started moving beyond their region, probably moving towards the western and the northern side of the globe.
The church leaders believe that through the KOALA movement, more missionaries will be mobilized to help hasten the spread of the gospel and bring back revival to the global north, which is America and Europe.
This meeting is not suggesting in any way that we are now the guys who could take world missions forward and the days of the Western church is over. That's not what we are suggesting. Our concern is that there will be a true partnership of the church throughout the world so that we may continue to obey God and proclaim the gospel of salvation in Jesus Christ.
Lucille Talusan, CBN News.
And thank you so much, Lucille. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Let us know what you think about the stories you've seen today. Email us at newswatch@cbn.com or reach out on social media on all of our social media platforms. We hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day. And as always, God bless you.